Two things that I've always had a passion for are retro gaming and Pokemon, which have honestly led me down some very interesting YouTube rabbit holes throughout the years. This time around, however, the algorithm delivered me to a short by the lovely Yewfie running Pokemon on a Kindle Nook, and for whatever reason, this spurred in me a desire to attempt this abomination myself. Now, me being a plebeian who doesn't actively read had to actually go out and buy a Nook specifically for this project, but that's reasonable, right? I'm not gonna lie, this thing is pretty adorable, but I definitely need to find a case or something for it, but that's a problem for tomorrow, Tetra. So, the Nook doesn't operate with traditional display tech like we're used to. It utilizes something called e-ink, which gives off more of that paper effect with the intent that it will cause less strain for the eyes. The trade-off for this, however, is that it gives you a refresh rate that is physically painful, like really painful. So it genuinely does not want to run Pokemon or any games for that matter. Before I even tried installing games on this brick, I needed to jailbreak it, which I've never done to any device ever. Like, for real, ever. Despite that, I found some guides that held my hand through it, which I'll link in the description for anyone as stupid as me who wants to try this. The method I used was called Jailbreak, and was genuinely quite simple to do. Just follow a couple steps and boom, the first phase was done in like 5 minutes. Also, is it just me or is it a little ominous installing a jailbreak program from someone named Hacker Dude? But things are never that simple. All I did at this point was allow the Nook to take in programs, but not actually utilize them. To actually make anything run on this, we had to install 2 essential tools, the MRPI and Qual, which you'll need for pretty much everything post-jailbreak, even if you're not doing this for the games. In my limited understanding, MRPI works as a universal installer, while Qual actually runs the programs. But don't quote me on that, I'm just an anime character on the internet. I'm not an expert. This was still a pretty straightforward process of just dragging some files and setting them up on the Nook, until I was forced to enter some weird voodoo magic that I legitimately believe would be impossible to understand without guidance. But yeah, don't worry about that. So at this point, we successfully jailbroken the Nook, installed the MRPI and Qual, so the rest should be a piece of cake, right? God, I wish. Installing the final piece of the puzzle is an emulator called Gambate K, which is a Kindle variant of a pre-existing emulator, Gambate. Now, why is this part a pain in the butt? Well, I wish I knew this before starting this project, although I really should have assumed this if I had half of a brain, is the Kindle modding community is both tiny and archaic. Finding the right files is a bit of a guessing game, as they'll be buried in small forum posts from like 2018 or even earlier. Worst of all, this was where the guide's hand-holding ended, so yeah, that was fun. Basically, I installed Gambate K, I dragged it into the extension folder of Qual, and nothing. Literally nothing. So I did what any reasonable person would do, and I simply restarted my Nook. Easy thought process, right? Turn it off and on again, see if that fixes it. Yeah, so never do that with these things, because that led to Qual ceasing to be, and when I tried to add it back, it kind of bricked my entire Nook. So at this point, I honestly wanted to give up, because I was legitimately getting so frustrated that everything I had done up to this point had gone up in smoke. I did some more digging through the trenches, and went to one of my moderators, but we managed to find out that Gambate K was already outdated software and Gambate K2 exists. So after factory resetting the Nook and doing all of the jailbreaking again, we finally got the damn thing to work, and it works surprisingly well, all things considered. I mean, it's still worse than the original Game Boy DMG, but it's really cool. At least I think it is. So what's the moral of the story in all this? If you beat your head against a wall enough, you too can make a 25-year-old game run on almost anything. That being said, what else should I try this with? I was thinking maybe attempting this with a bunch of other weird tech too. Lastly, if you enjoy the content, please consider subscribing, as this is my first genuine attempt at proper long-ish form content, and I would love to make more if people enjoy it.